My name was Amir. I was a respected Muslim doctor, known throughout Texas for my dedication and skill. Colleagues admired my focus, patients trusted me. Yet, beneath that polished exterior, I felt an aching emptiness. Every prayer became a routine, each ritual an unanswered question. I was lost, adrift in the vast ocean of tradition, searching for a glimmer of truth. Then, everything changed in an instant. A tragic accident sent me spiraling into the darkness of unconsciousness. In that liminal space, I encountered a presence, brighter than anything I had ever known. It was Jesus. He called my name, breaking through the shadows, unveiling a spiritual reality that shattered everything I thought I understood. I witnessed a cosmic battle between light and dark, a struggle hidden beneath the surface of our world that linked my silent doubts to deeper, global truths. When I woke, the weight of revelation had become a burden. My family condemned me as a heretic. My community shunned me. I was haunted by guilt and fear, torn between an old faith suffocated by doubt and a new truth that flickered with promise. How could I share what I had seen without losing everything I held dear? But the call to seek the truth echoed in my soul, stirring within me a fierce determination. I began an inner crusade, digging into the gospel, listening to testimonies, connecting with others who had traveled this treacherous path. With each revelation, joy and terror intertwined, as I understood my mission was not mere discovery, but a divine commission to share this light. Today I urge you to listen closely. What if there is a truth waiting for you beyond the veil of your understanding? A truth that can liberate you from the shadows of religion and fear? As we journey together, remember, your heart may be restless for a reason. Before we dive into this incredible testimony, I want to hear from you. Where are you watching from, and what time is it right now? Your location matters as we unite in this quest for truth. And if you love Jesus and desire the revelation of His light, subscribe to Truth from Beyond. Trust me, what you're about to hear could change everything. I've worked in a Texas hospital for years, navigating a unique blend of diversity, commitment, and unspoken tension. I'm Dr. Amir, a physician and a proud member of my community, yet I've often felt the weight of expectations call me to silence regarding my own beliefs. The environment is predominantly Christian, and while I've respected my colleagues' faith, I've often felt compelled to conceal my own spirituality, fearing judgment or reprisal. The atmosphere here is filled with healing, yet it often feels like a pressure cooker where personal convictions are tucked away out of sight. One fateful night, I faced a situation that changed my life forever. I was on call when an emergency patient arrived, critical and unstable. As the team rushed to stabilize him, I felt my heart racing, not from the adrenaline of the situation, but from an overwhelming sense of dread. Suddenly, the room began to fade away, replaced by an eerily quiet void. I lost consciousness, and in that moment, my reality transformed drastically. I found myself lost in a vast, dim desert, an expanse of desolation amidst an endless horizon. It felt like a liminal space, a threshold between life and the unknown. Then I saw Him, Jesus, radiating light and warmth as He approached me. He called my name, softly yet with authority. In that profound moment of connection, I experienced unconditional love, a peace that washed over me, mending the cracks in my soul. He revealed profound truths about the spiritual war that rages within our society, a battle against deception that keeps people imprisoned in fear and ignorance. As he spoke, I understood how often we clash with hidden agendas, where the elite manipulate beliefs for power, fostering division among us. The gravity of those revelations weighed heavy on my heart, pouring clarity into confusion that had plagued me for years. Through this divine encounter, I witnessed the overwhelming impact of societal and political structures that prevent us from experiencing true spirituality. The burden of unacknowledged biases opened my eyes to the ways faith can both uplift and confine. Jesus described how fear can silence voices that desperately need to be heard, how the spiritual war we face is fought against these constructs. I realized then that my struggle to navigate my own beliefs in a predominantly Christian environment wasn't just personal, it was a reflection of a much larger issue. I felt compelled to awaken to the truth, not just for myself, but for everyone around me, who might be trapped within their own cycles of fear and uncertainty. When I came back to consciousness in the ICU, everything seemed different. The fluorescent lights hummed in the silence, but my heart was filled with knowledge and urgency. I looked around at my colleagues, at the nurses and staff who'd been my partners through crises. A wave of emotion swept over me. I realized I could no longer remain silent about my beliefs. Would they understand the transformation that had taken place in my heart? I grappled with the uncertainty of sharing my experience, knowing the potential fallout that could come from challenging the status quo. Sharing my testimony could open doors to spiritual awakening for others, or lead me into isolation. The tension grew within me as I prepared to navigate the complexities of faith in an environment that often rejected what it didn't understand. Driven by the desire for truth and the impulse to serve, I began to seek ways to integrate my experience with my work. I wanted to engage my colleagues and patients in conversations about faith, healing, and the underlying forces that shape our existence. Each interaction became an opportunity to shine a light on the hidden agendas that often divide us. As I contemplated the words of Jesus during my vision, I felt an urgency to create a space where dialogue could flourish, where fear could be replaced with understanding. Could I effectively share this awakening with those around me, risking rejection yet embracing the chance to inspire others? As I pondered these questions, the journey of enlightenment lay ahead, shrouded in both hope and the fear of the unknown. The spiritual war was far from over, and I stood ready to take on the challenges that would come my way. I've spent most of my adult life dedicating myself to the field of medicine as a respected doctor in Texas. My name is Amir, and at 32, I've built a reputation for excellence in my practice. I've always prided myself on providing compassionate care to my patients, yet beneath the surface, an unsettling emptiness has taken root within me. Each day, I step into the hospital, donning my white coat, striving to heal others while grappling with my internal struggle. My dedication to my work is palpable, but in stark contrast, my prayers have become mechanical, devoid of the connection to faith I once treasured. In the quiet moments between patient visits, a dread gnawed at my spirit, a feeling that perhaps I was living a dual life. I easily slipped into the rhythms of my day, calm, focused, professional. But each evening as I returned home, that gnawing void would resurface, leaving me feeling more isolated. I began to question the very traditions I had adhered to, wondering if the beliefs that shaped my life also served as chains anchoring me to an unfulfilled existence. I sensed a disconnect from the spiritual beliefs I professed as a Muslim, and grappling with this reality often left me feeling restless and confused. Everything changed the day I found myself in the ICU, attending to a critically ill patient. The weight of desperation filled the room, the anxiety palpable as we fought against time. In the chaos of that day, I suddenly felt dizzy, everything around me collapsing into darkness. I sensed that I was slipping away, and when I opened my eyes, I was no longer in the hospital, but standing in a vast, luminous expanse, a desert lit by an all-encompassing light. In this otherworldly realm, I encountered Jesus. His presence radiated warmth and love, the kind I had never dreamed possible. When he called my name, I felt an instantaneous bond, a connection that pierced through the layers of confusion and doubt. As Jesus spoke, a series of revelations unfolded before me. I was shown the hidden agendas that often twist faith into tools of manipulation. The elite, those who wield power over narratives, perpetuate division, and sow seeds of doubt. A clarity washed over me, illuminating the spiritual war we are all engaged in, both within ourselves and in the larger society. I witnessed the struggles of families and communities, caught in cycles of fear and deception, and it dawned on me that my role as a healer extended far beyond the walls of the hospital. I realized the importance of awakening, of sharing these truths with others who might also be lost in their own existential crises. Returning to consciousness in the ICU, everything felt different. The sounds of machines and shuffling footsteps echoed around me as I lay there, my heart pounding with the weight of my experience. I understood that the urgency of my revelations demanded action. The dissonance between my beliefs and my understanding could no longer be ignored. I felt compelled to reach out to others, to share the message I had received from Jesus. However, fear weighed heavily on my heart. Would my colleagues embrace the awakening I had experienced, or would they cast me aside as a heretic? Each day since returning to my duties felt like a balancing act, juggling the expectations of my profession, the traditions of my upbringing, and the truths I had glimpsed. I sought out conversations, daring to share my journey with close friends, always cautious of their responses. The fear of rejection lingered in the shadows, yet the passion within me grew stronger. I knew the fight for truth demanded courage, and as I connected with others who had experienced their own awakenings, I felt less alone. The realization struck me: to truly heal, we must confront the deceptions that bind us, and I was now called to lead others in this spiritual war, even as I faced the uncertainty of what that path would look like. As I stood in the stillness of the ICU, tending to patients who fought for their lives, I felt an unsettling emptiness seeping into my heart. My name is Amir, a doctor respected in my field, but inside, a deep chasm of doubt echoed louder with each passing day. The prayers I recited felt hollow, mere rituals that no longer provided the comfort and connection they once had. I questioned whether the religion I had devoted my life to truly held the answers I sought, or if I was merely following a path laid out by others. The certainty that had once defined my faith was unraveling, and a creeping skepticism began to color my outlook. In the solitude of my nights, I experienced dreams that oscillated between stark darkness and blinding light. One night, I found myself wandering through a landscape where shadows loomed heavy, and I felt lost and afraid. It was then that I encountered a brightness, a radiant light so profound that it seemed to dissolve the very darkness surrounding me. Among the brilliance, Jesus appeared, calling out to me with authority and compassion. In that moment, a wave of warmth enveloped me, and I sensed that everything I had been struggling with, the questions, the doubts, the uncertainty, was about to be addressed. Jesus spoke to me about the spiritual war that exists not only within the individual but in the fabric of society itself. He revealed the hidden agendas of those in power, how the elite manipulate faith and create division among us, using deception to maintain control over our hearts and minds. I learned that the truth could be a liberating force, but that it often required confronting uncomfortable realities. It was a revelation that struck me deeply, opening my eyes to the ways in which our beliefs could either imprison or uplift us. The weight of the hidden agendas weighing on humanity became clear, and I realized my own duty in this fight for spiritual awakening. As I emerged from that vivid experience, I found myself back in the ICU, struggling to reconcile the stark contrast between the light I had seen and the reality around me. The echoes of Jesus' voice lingered in my mind, urging me to speak up, to share the truths I had uncovered. Yet, with this call to action came the crushing burden of fear. The thought of rejection loomed large. What would my colleagues in the community think of my new understanding? Would they embrace the truth, or would they cast me aside, seeing me as a traitor to our traditions? The tension of this inner conflict became my new normal, intensifying with each passing prayer and interaction. Despite the mounting fear, a flicker of hope burned within me. I knew that the spiritual war one had witnessed was not mine alone. It was shared by many seeking deeper significance in their lives. As I began to reach out, discussing my dreams and revelations with those I trusted, I found that some were receptive, eager to explore their own questions of faith. I shared how the deceptions we face as a society impact us all, urging them to seek a more profound understanding beyond the constraints of traditional beliefs. In those conversations, I sensed an awakening, a stirring that echoed my own transformation as we discussed the urgent need to challenge the narratives that can bind us. Through these interactions, I felt my purpose crystallizing. The revelations I encountered were not solely for my own liberation, but for the hope and healing of others. I felt a divine calling to guide those around me toward their own awakening, to break free from the chains that kept them in the shadows. As I prepared to step fully into this mission, I found myself questioning how to navigate the path ahead. Would I have the strength to confront the fears that sought to silence me? Would my voice become a beacon for others, or would it be drowned out by the clamoring demands of tradition? Those questions lingered in the air, a potent reminder that the journey of truth and awakening is fraught with both peril and promise. The day started like any other, but little did I know it would become the turning point of my life. I'm Amir, a dedicated doctor, and as I drove to the hospital, I felt a sense of urgency to help my patients, a duty I upheld with pride. The roads were familiar, a path I had traveled countless times, but that afternoon, everything changed in an instant. Suddenly, the screech of tires and the violent impact pulled me from the reality I had always known, plunging me into a darkness that felt both terrifying and oddly peaceful. When I regained consciousness, it was not in the hospital, but in what felt like a bleak, shadowy realm. The air was thick with uncertainty, and an overwhelming sense of dread hung over me. In this disorienting space, I was aware but unable to move, as if I were a prisoner within my own mind. Just when despair threatened to swallow me whole, a brilliant light pierced through the darkness. It was a radiant glow that filled me with warmth, and amidst that brilliance I saw Jesus. His presence was commanding yet gentle as he called my name with a power that resonated within my very soul. In that moment, I felt all my doubts and fears dissolve. Jesus spoke to me, revealing truths that shook the foundations of what I had believed. He unveiled a spiritual war that raged not only within my heart but in the world around me. I saw the hidden agendas of those in power, how the elite manipulated societal norms and used deception to reinforce division, The realization hit me like a tidal wave. The systems in place often distract us from deeper spiritual truths, leading us to become adherents of tradition rather than seekers of authentic connection with God. The visions continued, showing me the struggles of humanity, communities fractured by fear, families torn apart by misunderstandings, and individuals grappling with their own beliefs, each scene a heavy reminder of the spiritual battle we all face. Jesus illuminated the truth that the love he offers transcends the boundaries set by religious norms, inviting us to a deeper awakening. I understood that my calling was not merely to protect my profession as a doctor, but to become a voice for those who felt trapped by their own faith, encouraging them to awaken to the powerful truth that can set us free. As the light began to fade, the voices of reality beckoned me back to the ICU in Texas. I woke, disoriented yet filled with a profound sense of purpose. The sterile smells and bright lights surrounded me, but the warmth of the light I had encountered lingered in my spirit. I felt a deep conviction that my experience was not just personal. It was a call to share the revelations with others. But the fear of judgment returned, and I could feel the weight of expectations heavy on my heart. Would my colleagues and community accept this journey I had undertaken? Would they understand the truth I now carried, or would they cast me aside as a heretic? The spiritual war was not just within me. It was also in the world I was returning to, a battle that was far from over. I had to be courageous and step into this new role, but the uncertainty of what lay ahead overshadowed my excitement. Would I have the strength to face the challenges and embrace the truth no matter the cost? Upon regaining consciousness in the ICU, I was met with the stark reality of my situation. I had expected chaos, but instead, it was the silence surrounding me that felt deafening. I am Amir, a Muslim doctor regarded with respect within my community. Yet now, I felt utterly alone. The visions I experienced during my brief encounter with Jesus hung heavy in my mind, a profound awakening that clashed violently with everything I had been taught. The moment I embraced the truth revealed to me, I felt the weight of judgment closing in, my family's expectations, my community's traditions, all blending into a chorus of condemnation labeling me a heretic. The thought of my family facing disapproval because of my new beliefs wrapped around me like chains. I could almost hear their voices echoing in my mind, "You must uphold our faith, our traditions." But the revelation I had received was not just for me, it was a beacon of light I knew I had to share. The words of Jesus, showcasing the deception of the hidden agendas set by the elite, rang clear in my ears. I could see the spiritual war woven into the very fabric of society, illuminating how fear and manipulation kept us enslaved. Yet here I stood, grappling with overwhelming guilt and fear of losing the only identity I'd ever known. As I navigated through my daily responsibilities, the tension inside me grew. I would smile and engage with patients, but as I returned home, the loneliness crept back in, forcing me to confront the reality that the spiritual awakening I had experienced now set me apart from those I loved. Every prayer I offered felt like a performance, a hollow gesture devoid of the connection I used to cherish. I missed the profound sense of community that once surrounded me. Yet I couldn't abandon the truth that had ignited a fire within my heart. At night, I struggled to reconcile my faith with the truths I had uncovered. Dreams became a refuge, and in them, Jesus continued to guide me. I often wandered in vivid landscapes, bathed in light, where he urged me to embrace the revelations about love, unity, and awakening beyond religious confines. But in stark contrast, I would awaken to the unsettling reality of my life, burdened with the weight of my unconfessed convictions. The fear of judgment looped through my mind, undermining every step I took toward candid conversations about faith with my family. What if they saw me as an outsider? What if my desire for spiritual freedom led to complete alienation? Despite the turmoil, a flicker of determination ignited within me. I began to seek out those who might be open to the truths I had discovered, gradually sharing snippets of my experience with trusted colleagues. Each conversation sparked a glimmer of hope, as I saw the curiosity in their eyes when they listened to the stories of transformation I had to share. They too were wrestling with their beliefs, burdened by the societal divisions that often kept us apart. I understood that the spiritual war one faced was not just mine alone. It echoed through the voices of many seeking understanding and connection. My newfound mission to enlighten those around me began to take shape, yet the ever-looming fear of losing my past still lingered heavily, refusing to fade as I ventured further into the light of truth. Determined to find answers, I embarked on a secret quest for truth that felt both exhilarating and terrifying. My name is Amir, a 32-year-old doctor, and ever since my encounter with Jesus in that dimly lit ICU, I could no longer ignore the growing unrest within me. The teachings of my Muslim upbringing began to clash with the spiritual revelations I had received. I felt a profound emptiness in my heart, and it became imperative that I explore this new path, even if it meant treading on shaky ground. Late at night, while the world around me slept, I turned to the Bible, its pages offering a sanctuary where I could search for the clarity I desperately needed. As I read through the scriptures, I found pieces of myself in the stories of faith and struggle. Each passage seemed to speak directly to my situation, encouraging me to see beyond the confines of traditional beliefs that had held so many, including myself, captive. Alongside my studies, I discovered testimony videos online from individuals who had experienced their own transformations. Hearing their stories became a lifeline, a source of comfort that illuminated the path of awakening I was navigating. I connected with friends who had also encountered similar spiritual dilemmas, and in them, I found solidarity. Each conversation brought a renewed sense of hope, and together we shared the weight of our discoveries, wrapped in the warmth of companionship. Yet, despite the growing support from these newfound allies, a persistent fear gnawed at me. What would happen if my family learned of my quest? The thought sent chills down my spine, the dread of losing everything I had ever known, my family, my cultural identity, the very essence of who I was, felt like a heavy burden. I began to understand the price of truth. The hidden agenda that often lurked behind religious traditions and societal expectations loomed large in my mind, creating an internal struggle of wanting to speak out against deception while fearing the repercussions I might face. Amidst these uncertainties, my resolve deepened. I often found myself awake at night, grappling with my identity and the possibility of an estrangement from my roots. I prayed earnestly for guidance, recalling the love and compassion of Jesus that had warmed my heart during that miraculous encounter. I sensed that my life was meant for something greater, serving as a bridge for others who felt just as lost. The spiritual war we were engaged in wasn't merely about personal beliefs. It was about illuminating the truth that could set so many free from the chains that bound them in fear and misunderstanding. As I stepped further into this journey, I began to map out how I could share my story without alienating those I loved. Through the trials of reconciling my newfound beliefs with my past, I felt a surge of courage urging me to live authentically. Each day was a step into the unknown, a brave commitment to be a voice for awakening amidst the shadows of societal division. Would I find the strength to share my truth openly and inspire others, or would the fear of rejection continue to mute my voice? The path ahead remained unclear, filled with both hope and trepidation, but I knew in my heart that the revelation of truth was a journey worth taking, no matter the cost. After my encounter with Jesus, I reached a turning point in my life, a moment that I knew was not just coincidental, but a divine calling demanding my attention. It became increasingly clear to me that what I had experienced in the ICU was a revelation meant to guide me toward a purpose far greater than myself. As I navigated the aftermath of that life-altering event, a deep urgency blossomed within me, a compelling need to warn others about the spiritual warfare I had witnessed, the hidden agendas orchestrated by the elite, and the deceptions that often shroud our understanding of faith and truth. Every day since that revelation, I felt the weight of the world on my shoulders. As a doctor, I had always considered myself a healer, but now I realized that my role extended beyond the confines of medicine. I was being called to heal souls through the sharing of truth. My newfound awareness of the spiritual war taking place around us fueled my determination to break my silence, even if it meant risking my safety and integrity. I began to reflect on how many others felt the same emptiness I had once felt. Those searching for answers, trapped in cycles of doubt and fear. They needed to know there was light, even in the darkest moments. I started seeking out opportunities to share my story, to connect with individuals who might resonate with the truths I had uncovered. Friends and colleagues who had once been mere acquaintances became allies in this awakening. We gathered in small groups where each person could share their fears, doubts, and experiences. Through these discussions, I saw the flicker of hope ignite in their eyes. It was a powerful reminder that we are not alone in this journey. Together, we could contend with the forces that sought to silence us. The spiritual war demanded our voices, and I was committed to being a part of that chorus. However, an undercurrent of fear remained, whispering doubts that threatened to undermine my courage. I wondered how my family would react if they knew about my journey. The thought of being viewed as a traitor to our traditions was unbearable. While I longed to share the peace I had found in Jesus' presence, I feared I would risk everything I had built. Throughout this internal struggle, the urgency of my mission kept pushing me forward. If I had been awakened, then surely others could be too. Their freedom and understanding depended on our willingness to embrace the truth. As I spent more time in prayer and contemplation, I found strength in the conviction that my awakening was a call to action. I began to articulate my experiences in local gatherings, sharing the truth about Jesus and the deceptive forces influencing our beliefs. I addressed how many of us had been conditioned to accept a narrative that limits our understanding, keeping us from the richness of true spirituality. With each testimony, the collective energy grew. People began to resonate with the idea that there is a hidden agenda in our society that overshadows our understanding of faith. In these moments, I felt a fire building, a connection among us that fueled the awakening we were collectively embarking on. Each heart touched inspired me to push through the fear of rejection, as I realized just how much we needed this truth, how crucial it was to shed light on the spiritual war we were all fighting. In a significant turning point of my life, I made the courageous decision to leave my parents' home, a symbol of both familiarity and constraint. The name Amir, which once represented my identity as a devoted Muslim doctor, now felt like a weight shackling me to a past that no longer resonated with my soul. I realized that in order to fully embrace the awakening I had experienced, I needed to shed the layers of my former self and step into a new life where I could express my truth freely. Each step away from my roots was filled with anxiety and anticipation, but the vision of Jesus and the truths he had unveiled urged me forward. My journey led me to a different city, one where I could start anew and immerse myself in a community open to spiritual exploration. It was liberating, yet fraught with uncertainty. In this new environment, I found others who shared my desire for a deeper connection with God, who were equally passionate about uncovering the truth beneath the surface of our beliefs. We gathered in small groups, engaged in discussions that breathed life into our spirits and kindled the fire of our lives. Each story exchanged, each person who resonated with the idea of moving beyond deception reminded me that I was not alone in this spiritual war. As I began to evangelize and share my experience, I felt the weight of the mission on my shoulders, an urgent calling to confront the hidden agendas that often keep individuals and communities in darkness. I saw how societal structures could easily manipulate faith, fostering division and fear among those searching for meaning. The deception woven into our understanding of spirituality remained pervasive, often obscuring the profound love Jesus represents. I knew these truths were vital and that my journey was now intertwined with the awakening of others. However, as I worked to share my revelations and encourage others to seek the truth, the specter of fear continued to loom. I couldn't help but worry about the reaction of my family back in Mecca, the one I had so willingly left behind. Would they accept my transformation, or would they view it as a betrayal? My heart ached at the thought of their potential disappointment. Yet, the fire within me pushed back against that fear, igniting a relentless determination to continue forging ahead. I recognized that each day I spent in this new role brought me closer to my true calling. With each encounter, I felt the call to action intensifying. I wanted to illuminate the path for others who felt trapped in cycles of doubt and condemnation, just as I had. We spoke of love, unity, and the importance of awakening in this spiritual war. We shared strategies to defy the manipulation that had kept so many in line, unaware of the freedom awaiting them. Our discussions fueled my desire to challenge traditional beliefs that hindered spiritual growth. As the urgency of my mission swelled within me, I realized that my story was a testament to the potential for transformation, and as I embraced my new identity, I held on to the hope that I could guide others toward their own awakening, no matter the risks involved. Years have passed since that fateful day in the ICU, when my world as I knew it collapsed and transformed. My name is Amir, and today I find myself deeply embedded in a vibrant community of faith, one that throbbed with the pulse of awakening and spiritual connection. The journey to this place has been fraught with challenges, yet it has offered me profound opportunities to share my testimony of freedom and transformation. The revelation of Jesus that burst into my life during my near-death experience has ignited a fire within me, an unwavering commitment to help others find their own light amidst an often dark landscape filled with deception. As I settle into my new role within this community, I am continually amazed by the impact I can have on the lives of those around me. Each day I remind myself that my mission is not just about my own awakening. It's about nurturing the flames of hope in others who may still be trapped under the weight of tradition and conformity. My heart swells with purpose as I see individuals begin to break free from the spiritual war that wages around them. Many are unaware of the hidden agendas the elite employ, manipulating faith to foster division and control. My testimony serves as a beacon, illuminating the truth that can set them free. In our gatherings, I often share the details of my transformation, the darkness I felt leading up to that life-altering encounter with Jesus, and the light that flooded into my existence following it. I recount how the manipulation of truth by those in power can stifle spiritual growth and understanding. We dive deep into discussions on the critical need for awakening, recognizing how easily we can become pawns in a larger game played by those who benefit from our disunity. These conversations ignite a spark in the hearts of those I speak with, urging them to accept their own revelations and confront the deceptions that have held them captive for far too long. Despite the joy I find in my new role, the desire to reconcile with my family back in Mecca continues to weigh heavily on my heart. I miss them deeply, and I dream of the day when I can share my journey with them. Would they perhaps see the light I've found within this awakening? Or would they reject me for straying too far from the traditions that shaped our lives? The thought of being branded and outcast by my loved ones lingers in the back of my mind, yet I know I must remain true to the truth I've embraced. The fear remains, but so does hope. A hope that perhaps one day the love that binds us could bridge the considerable gap my transformation has created. As I continue to engage with this community and serve in my newfound capacity, I feel a sense of divine empowerment surging through me. Each life I touch, each story I hear, reinforces the belief that we are all part of a larger narrative, a collective journey toward truth and liberation. The urgency of this mission propels me forward, encouraging me to spread the message of love, unity, and awakening. I find solace in knowing that while the spiritual war may rage on, every small act of kindness, every shared truth, is a step toward transcending the deceptions that divide us. The road ahead may be uncertain, but every moment I spend in service reminds me that the fight for truth and connection is one worth undertaking, not just for myself, but for all those who seek the light. The moment I encountered Jesus in that hospital room, everything shifted. I'm Amir, a doctor who has always been dedicated to healing others, yet inside I felt increasingly lost. Days turned into months as I navigated my responsibilities in the ICU, but my heart thrummed with an unsettling emptiness. Each prayer, recited out of obligation rather than devotion, left me feeling more disconnected than ever. I began to wonder if the faith I had followed all my life truly offered the answers I sought. The uncertainty gnawed at me, a shadow hovering ever closer. One evening, a severe car accident brought several patients into the ICU. I remember the frantic energy in the room, the beeping machines, and the cold touch of reality. In the midst of chaos, I suddenly felt dizzy, my vision blurred, and before I knew it, I collapsed. When I opened my eyes, I was no longer in the hospital. Instead, I found myself in a vast, dimly lit desert, where the earth stretched endlessly before me. The air was heavy with silence, but then a blinding light pierced through the shadows and emerged. Jesus stood before me, radiating warmth and compassion. When he called my name, it felt as if every fiber of my being responded to his voice, awakening something deep within me. As we connected, Jesus revealed truths that shattered the illusions I had clung to. He illuminated the spiritual war we are all engaged in, a battle fought not just in the world around us but within ourselves. The hidden agendas of the elite came into focus, showing me how they manipulate belief systems to maintain their power. I saw how individuals, like myself, became unwitting participants in a game designed to control our perceptions and our destinies. The deceptions woven into our understanding of spirituality were laid bare, and the urgency of his message resonated within me. This wasn't just about my salvation, it was about awakening to the truth. In that desert, surrounded by Jesus' light, I understood the power of love and unity that transcends religious identities. I realized that true spirituality goes beyond rituals and cultural conventions. It's about connection. Connection to God, to one another, and to the truth that can awaken our hearts. The realization brought tears to my eyes, and I felt a deep yearning to share this awakening with others, especially those still navigating the confusion and fear that had once bound me. I knew that this revelation could empower not just myself, but countless others still yearning for liberation. As I returned to consciousness in the ICU, the sterile room filled with its harsh realities felt like a stark contrast to the warmth I had just experienced. Fear began creeping back in. Fear of rejection, fear of losing the identity I had held on to for so long. I thought of my family, with whom I had always shared my faith. How would they react if they knew I had turned toward Jesus? Would they view me as a traitor? Or could they also see the light I had encountered? The tension of these thoughts clashed with the truth I had embraced, and I knew I had to make a choice: to remain silent and compliant, or to step boldly into this new understanding and share it with those around me. The path ahead was unclear, yet in my heart, I felt a stirring, a deep, abiding call to share this journey of awakening, no matter the cost. As I stand here today, reflecting on the journey from darkness to light, I find myself compelled to ask you, have you ever felt the unsettling tension between the traditions you've known and the deeper truths that beckon you from beyond? In this fractured world, there's a spiritual battle unfolding, one that speaks to each of us, urging us to awaken to the profound reality that lies just beneath the surface of our preconceived notions of faith. I am Amir, a Muslim doctor transformed by the illuminating presence of Jesus in my deepest hour of need. My encounter with him revealed not just my personal struggle, but a cosmic war over hearts and minds, a struggle perpetuated by the unseen forces that often keep us divided. The urgency of my calling to share this truth grows stronger as I witness our society grappling with uncertainty and fear. You too are part of this great awakening. You have a role in this story. I invite you to share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. Have you ever felt a tugging at your spirit, a question that ignited your faith journey? I read every comment, and together we can build a community that seeks healing and understanding beyond the walls we've built. And please don't leave without subscribing to Truth from Beyond and hitting that notification bell. Your connection to this community is vital as we navigate the tumultuous waters of spiritual discovery together. The revelations that lie ahead could very well change everything for you, just as they did for me. In our next video, I'll share the powerful testimony of someone who encountered the divine in a way that shattered their understanding of reality. Remember, you are not alone in this journey. Until next time, I'm Amir. Thank you for being part of this incredible quest for truth. Keep seeking, keep questioning, because the light will always find you when you're ready to embrace it.